Hello, welcome to week 3 recap. This will be the last week that you post discussions and write an essay so that you can focus on your final paper and your presentation. So I want to make sure you guys all had enough time for that. So again, last week of discussion posts and the one essay. I think this is a fabulous section to go through at this time. Because it talks all about what CSR means to the company and how that incorporates stakeholders. Part 4 starts off with markets and profit. It goes into strategic CSR, but then it also talks about how stakeholders are the market makers, right? So stakeholders will create areas of business for companies that maybe they didn't exactly know they needed. It's difficult for a company to have their finger on the pulse of all issues at all times. So they rely on the population to help them understand what's important. If I created a certain widget, I would expect people to purchase that widget. And if people did not purchase it, then I need to rethink my manufacturing, my design of that widget. So this is how kind of the ebb and flow of stakeholders and customers and companies all work together to create kind of this greater good. So I'm excited that we get to cover this part in the time of COVID, in the time of Black Lives Matter, and our LGBTQ issues that are going on, and highlighting that in a time of really understanding the climate crisis, because now we can see what companies stand for. And as the economy is struggling, people have less discretionary income. And so they are starting to think more about where they put their dollars. And this is where the company needs to react to how they serve their stakeholders. So we saw, throughout the COVID crisis, hazard pay be instituted for grocery stores and service workers. We saw where certain shipping companies were taking care of their employees better than others. And when those type of things make it into the news, then customers can decide whether or not they want to continue to support that, whether or not they don't support it, or whether or not they don't care at all. Maybe it doesn't matter to them. So again, these affect the company operations, they affect their profits, they affect how they are viewed amongst their competitors. So it's really important when we think about CSR and creating an entire strategic plan to address corporate social responsibility, that it comes with some sort of intention. We don't want to just throw things at the wall and see what sticks, because a typical term for a company doing that, if they're addressing climate change, would be greenwashing. That would be where the company is acting like they care about the environment, but their operations do not show that in return. So when a stakeholder, when a customer, when a client sees that the company is not following through, that can have detrimental effects, especially in the day of social media and Yelp reviews and all the ways to tell your friends and family what the company is doing. That information gets out. So this is how companies tie their economic value to their social value. And some companies are going to value, people's rights and workers' health and the climate and healthcare, all those things differently. and some are going to value more and some are going to do less. And it's up to us to determine what fits within our value system as to whether or not we want to continue to work with that company. So again, this chapter or this section is really long, but it is your last section. You guys will go through talking about social progress. So again, very timely right now in understanding social progress. We've seen where the minimum wage is being increased to $15 in places around the country. We are seeing where healthcare is considered a right and not just nice to have. Where people that are sick with COVID-19 get full treatment and full care without leaving the hospital with high doctor bills, and that they're taken care of within this pandemic. We're seeing people kind of collectively come together to protect those that are most vulnerable. And companies are going to find a way to support those type of causes when society in general is on board with that progress. So the book will talk about global income. You guys will also cover talking about different companies that have been able to progress sustainably. And then you guys will get into compliance and accountability, making sure that they are not hiding money behind their back, they're not deceiving their shareholders, that they're not underpaying the raw material producer, gouging, things like that, that they're reporting on CSR measurements accurately, depending on what system they use to prove they are doing that. So again, a lot of really cool things throughout this section. Then you guys will get into ESGs, the environmental, social, and governance. That has been something I have seen play a really big role in how companies measure their progress, how they're able to determine growth based on their initiatives. So you guys will cover that as well. And you guys will finish off with competition, competitive advantage, how CSR plays a role in strategy and being able to think long-term. A lot of you guys put in your essays about leadership traits, the ability to think past today or tomorrow, but to consider what the company does over the long haul for the next 2 generations. And that is incredibly important when we think about climate change, because if all I was to care about is what the temperature is today and tomorrow, and whether or not I'm doing just fine, I will not think about my kids and their kids and so on and so forth, because if I do, it's going to change my actions today to make sure they are set up for future generations. So the CSR plan, as you guys are learning throughout this class, is a way to bring all that together, because you can't go after every single platform that stakeholders may say that you should care about. You can't go and worry about every cause that's at the forefront of the media. You have to be strategic in what you decide to tackle and what that impact is going to be for the business. I think you guys are seeing that within the companies that you're profiling, because if a company says, I'm interested in all these causes, we are not putting the right effort into the right cause at the right time, and we're not maximizing the benefits. The company will end up spreading itself too thin. Customers are not going to take the company seriously because it's going to be very flighty, seem all over the place, and be difficult to understand what that company stands for. So I think a lot of the companies you guys have been profiling that have that environmental initiative, Jones, Patagonia, the shoe company. So I think they have that core message, and then that core message resonates with their customer base. It resonates with people that are aware of their brand. And again, they have a very solid message on who they want to be and where they want to go and why it is so important. And that brings that loyal base along and kind of helps promote how important and how cool this company is to those that may not recognize them or know as much as, you know, a seasoned customer would. So you guys will get into all that, and then you will finish up with a case study concerning supply chain and the ethical supply chain, which to me is near and dear to my heart because this is where I see businesses making the most impact. So it's not the causes, because of course that's incredibly important, but that is dependent on how well the company is doing. If I were to say I support the Black Lives Matter movement as a company, and I am going to go out there, a good example, I went to Sacramento a couple weeks ago and stopped to have a burger at a place that heavily supports the Black Lives Matter movement. They were out taking food to the protesters. They were out supporting. They sell t-shirts. They have information about Black Lives Matter. They put a little flyer inside your bag when you take your order to go to teach you about Juneteenth. So they do a lot around, you know, how to support Black Lives Matter. But the expectation is that that company is continuing to make money, it's continuing to serve customers, it's continuing to produce before it can go out and support these types of causes, because the cause isn't necessarily going to generate the income that can sustain the company. But what can help that company really hone in on their business practices, make things more efficient, make the company better for the long term, is to go through that supply chain and identify inefficiencies, identify where that company can support communities or growers or natural resources. Samsung has been in the news quite a bit in how they mine for parts for their phone and the low wages that they pay people to go out and do this dangerous job. So to sit there and say, as a large company, I'm going to take a step back, make sure that that area benefits from from the opportunities that company gains. That's when we start to see the supply chain become a full, well-oiled machine. And when the company can do that, they can go out and support whatever causes down the road, but as just a basis for operations, it does everything that it can to make sure that its company is set up to be successful and that it brings everyone up together. And those are companies that are becoming increasingly more important to stakeholders because they don't want the company like Coca-Cola, for example, to say, yes, we care about the environment. We want to do everything that we can, but oh, by the way, we're not going to stop producing plastic bottles because this is what our customers want. What we want is for Coca-Cola to take a stance and say, plastic bottles are not okay. We have found a better way to package our product to the consumer. And because our product is so great and you've grown up on it and it's been around for, you know, ever, you come with us, and they will have a following that comes with them. They will have people that it does not matter what Coca-Cola is in, they will drink it. And that is when the company takes their power and they use it for better and they use it for good and they bring everyone else along, because it's going to be difficult for everyday people or maybe even legislation to stand up to a company and say, you can no longer do this, because then we are putting the expectation on the company to fix it, and they might not have the resources to do it. So we like when a company steps back and says, I'm going to take this on because it is the right thing to do. And then they can figure out what is best because they're already in that process. Everyday citizens don't understand what it takes for, Coca-Cola to produce its drinks. Legislators will not understand that. So the company can make meaningful change when they're in the thick of it every single day. So that kind of covers what you guys will be learning in this last little section. That's part 4 and 5. Part 4 and 5 there. We don't get into part 6, which is sad to me because that's our sustainable practices. Really encompasses everything with sustainability. It's an additional 60 pages. So I'm going to offer extra credit. I'm going to open up a discussion post for extra credit. I will offer an additional 10 points to post. One post, actually, let me make that 20. I'm going to offer an additional 20 points to read this section and post the most interesting thing you found in section 6, part 6. Okay, that'll be 20 points. For an additional 20, yeah, let's do 20. We'll do another 20 points. For another additional 20 points, I would like you guys to go out and do some sort of CSR activity. This could be going out and helping a homeless person. This could be picking up trash. I pick up trash regularly around Virginia Lake and up at Sand Harbor. This could be, engaging with someone important, maybe at the Reno Police Department, and talking to them about their CSR practices. This could be a lot of different things, but I want you to take what you've learned within this book, within Chandler, within your discussions, within your companies, and think about what you as an everyday citizen could go out to do to support being socially responsible and supporting some sort of cause and helping out your community. So those are your 2 extra credit assignments. One or the other. I'm not going to have you guys do both. So one or the other. You can either read and post what was most interesting to you about that section, or you can go out and do a socially responsible act. And I would like to have all those in by August 9th, 11:59 p.m. And I will post those up. Okay. So again, I have office hours tomorrow at 6, Wednesday at 6 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m. And then I will have them again on Thursday from 10 to 11 a.m. You guys are welcome to hop on at any time, ask me questions, clarify some things. If you're unable to make it, you can always send me an email or send me a message through Canvas. I hope you guys are all enjoying the class, and I'm here if you need anything. Thanks so much. Bye.